it.
Hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. This is episode 75, which we don't have a title for, but we have Nick Irwin, so that might be part of the title because, well, I'm unoriginal. But before we get started, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the reuse and distribution of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I had. What are you guys up to?
Fuck, man.
That's it. Done. Show's over.
I haven't moved from in front of my webcam all day.
Yeah, recording.
Yeah, that's it.
A podcaster's life for me.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm going for.
Yo ho, a podcaster's life for me.
Yep. And that's the new version of the Anarcho Pirate.
Yeah.
Agorist pirate podcasting.
That would be a cool network name.
That would.
Nope,
Copyrighted. Status copyrighted. Nick Irwin 2019.
that
Get the
shit.
fuck out of here.
Yep.
It's taken now.
That's BIPCOTted.
Mm-hmm. Fine.
So, you guys, you're all bundled up. Nick, is it cold up there?
Yeah, it's cold up here, man. It's in the probably low 20s, almost high teens right now. It's been cold for weeks.
It doesn't get that cold here in the winter. But you
also don't have real guns there either, so I think it's an even trade-off.
Yeah, we're also on fire.
Yeah,
So,
that's why you're so warm.
You never.
You know.
Okay, so that's what I gotta ask you. That came up on my show today with Daniel Johnson. We were talking about all the bullshit in California. So what's with the conspiracy about the fires being set in the path of the bullet train they're trying to build?
Okay,
so that they can clear all the land.
Number one. First off, that is bullshit and has been debunked 100 times. Number two, the image that they use, the meme. I know the meme you're talking about. It shows the bullet train and the fire side. If you look at the scale on that map, the scale isn't totally wrong. Right? It shows that the fire side of that meme shows the whole state. The bullet train is only in the southern half of the state.
Mm.
Right? So the scale's off on that. And then second to that is most of the bullet train goes through farmland where there's no fires. They just took the land and
if I didn't know it better, I'd say you were a California bullet train shill. So I'm gonna stick with my memes.
If I had cashed my bullet train shill check, we would not be having internet issues.
That's true. And I can't see either of you guys anymore. My eyes aren't hurting.
Exactly.
I also miss it.
See, that's what it is right there. It's a conspiracy. So, but
yeah, man.
Speaking of fires here in California, documentary came out on Netflix on Friday, called Fire in Paradise, California, Northern California. The Camp Fire. That was the one that went through and killed 86 people. My daughter was at college there at Butte College down at the bottom of the hill and had to be emergency evacuated. And my brother's fiance's family, they lost everything, lost their house and all that good stuff. And they actually live out in Oklahoma now. Like they got that far away. But the documentary came out and it's only 40 minutes long. And 8 minutes into it, I'm fucking hyperventilating. It was that bad. They had all this live video of people recording on their phones, last will and testaments, and calling their loved ones, and then the cell tower caught on fire, and the cell signals went out, and if you get a chance to watch it, shit like that is a damn good reason to be a prepper. Just
yeah, absolutely.
Putting it out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the very first time that something goes that wrong, and then you have all the supplies, none of your neighbors do. It's like, oh, I'm the crazy one. Oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
The crazy one has all the bottled water, motherfucker.
Yeah,
and I ain't sharing.
Yeah, that's mine.
Like, and people were like calling 911 and like begging for help, and then the 911 operators like, there's no help. Like we can't like where it is, Butte County is geographically it's a large county, but population it's a small county. And Paradise is like up the hill. There's only like 2 ways into it, and they're both 2-lane roads. And like the fire was moving. The fire jumped a canyon, like a 1/4 mile wide canyon. The fire jumped it. The winds were pushing the spot fires that fast. And
is
like
Red Bluff in that county?
Red Bluff is north. It's well north. I think it's up there in Shasta County. It's about an hour north of Chico.
I got family up there. They were helping people during that fire.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's still people living in temporary housing, and all this. But like one of the things that like in an article I read about the anniversary that's coming up, the 8th is the anniversary of the fire. One of the things that I read that like really hit home for me is like it was a beautiful town with a great population, and like 80% of the people contacted said that they're not moving back.
Yeah, they're just like, nope, fuck it.
They're like, no, it'd be like, I mean, 86 people died in this fire, and we've been talking for the last year on Facebook, different people about like how the government helped create this situation that led to this, and like, I mean, sure, there was some climate stuff and the drought. You know, I mean, you can't have like Greta. You can't have a 10-year drought, 10-year natural drought, and then like have a year of flooding and expect like the drought to be over. Like, 10-year drought's not going to absorb enough water to end the drought. But
well, yeah, the ground's too hard. It can't absorb anything else.
Yeah, right.
And you have 10
I
years.
don't know if you heard me when you mentioned
Greta?
climate, but I said, okay, Greta. I just want,
you have
I want that
stolen
to be known on the record, please.
You know what? How dare you? How dare you?
Did you guys read the article about Al Gore and climate change? Like he said the number one way that we can fight. It's a recent one.
From the 90s.
No, it's a recent one about his farm. He has like a 400-acre farm in Tennessee, and he says has like the number one thing that we can do to fight climate change, air quotes, climate change, is to use traditional farming practices. Which
sure, Al Gore.
Which people have been doing.
He invented those too, by the way,
for hundreds and thousands of years before the government became involved in the market.
Isn't he the same guy who also like was like weren't all him and all of his people also the ones who were blaming it all on farming in the first place, like because of cow farts? Like, wasn't that bovine flatulence trademark thing?
Original.
Oh, those damn cows and their methane releases. Shakes fist.
I'm just saying,
shakes fist
Al Gore
nature.
Al Gore probably invented traditional farming. Watch yourself.
I invented traditional farming.
He's the first one to raise man bear pigs in the continental U.S.
He's super cereal, you guys.
Yeah, guys, this is super cereal.
Oh God!
Fucking hell. How is that dude? How does anybody take that dude seriously at all anymore? Like if he himself was not the nail in the coffin, South Park was. I mean, it's game over, and idiots are still listening to him.
Yeah, I mean, and his wife Tipper is a complete, absolute basket case too. I mean, first of all, Tipper, really, but ignoring that,
her name's Tipper.
Yeah, how do you walk across the dance floor to dance and be like, "Hi, Tipper, I'm Al." Like,
don't forget it, Tipper. Tipper's the one that I believe Tipper's the one that Dee Snider addressed
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the rock music doesn't cause violence.
Yeah, that's where I was going
Yeah,
because back
that
in
was a
the
great one.
like the early '90s, she was really really big on the we need to ban violent rock music and because it's causing degeneracy and a moral decline and blah blah blah. That was her, and now
Oh yeah.
we're seeing the exact same arguments come back, the same tropes again because they're trying to use it against video games. That's I don't remember Nazi soldiers playing video games, but apparently video games are the only cause of mass violence.
Well, yeah. Was it Abel and Cain? Like one of them just got done playing GTA 5, and then smacked the other one with the rock. I mean, come on now.
I mean, clearly, that's.
Yep.
I heard it was Doom, but.
Well, Nazi soldiers weren't playing video games because they were in that sweet spot of that cyclical saying. Was it weak men make hard times make strong men make good times and make easy times make weak men or something like that. They're in the hard men category there.
They're too hard to play video games. Although I'm pretty sure Himmler was a Duke
IRL, bro.
No. I don't know how we got on the subject, but it's a perfect segue to our first article.
Yay, segues!
Right, I love good segues because, well, we don't have the awkwardness, but I still make it awkward because
then you point out that it's a segue.
Yeah, and
that's the best segue.
And we're super serial professionals, guys.
Too bad we can't like throw a graphic up every time we have a segue that just says segue.
Segue. Is this the Krispy Kreme one?
No. We're gonna skip to the one from Wired about the technology will keep us from running out of stuff. This is it's an op-ed on how capitalism is going to save us from climate change.
Oh yeah, and with the dude with the world's greatest name.
Which dude is that? What's his name?
The Andrew McAfee.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Andrew McAfee.
I gotta say, before you dive into this, I was looking at the Krispy Kreme one. It's bullshit. And it says Krispy Kreme. What does it say? Krispy Kreme fucking
Krispy Kreme crushes
capitalism, and only Krispy Kreme. Yeah, only Krispy Kreme is spelled with a K. Neither crushes nor capitalism are spelled with a K.
I know,
and that's bullshit.
Holy alliterate! It's a perfect place for alliteration. Why did you?
I assumed it was going to be applied because nobody else can see the fucking notes.
You know what, Jason? Think about that next time.
Okay.
Anyways, on to Wired.
On to hashtag awkward podcaster pause. Okay. This is from Wired magazine. Technology will keep us from running out of stuff. It's as Andrew said, written by a guy named Andrew McAfee. He is a scientist and co-founder of the MIT's Initiative on the Digital Economy. He's the author of More or Less, the surprising story of how we learn to prosper using More or Less, the surprising story of how we learn to prosper using fewer resources and what happens next. Okay, he says 30 years from now, we'll need to feed, clothe, shelter, and otherwise provide for 2 million more people. Human-caused global warming is going to make these tasks challenging as it produces more deserts, droughts, heat waves, and other stresses. Even so, I believe we can easily meet our challenge and take better care of people who inhabit the world of the future without experiencing sustained shortages of food or other important resources. Not everyone shares this
bullshit, bud.
Not everyone shares this view. In February, the World Economic Forum warned that, quote, the food system is currently in the red. It is extracting more than can be sustained, and we are pushing nature to the brink. In August, the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released the extensive report forecasting land degradation and associated food insecurities with the decades ahead. Its headlines for policymakers were grim. As one report report's author summarized, quote, food security will be increasingly affected by future climate change through yield declines, especially in the tropics, increased prices, reduced nutrient quality, and supply chain interruptions. Yeah. It's not just food. Some think we will also run out of important minerals. The European Chemical Society released a modified periodic table this year that looked at projected demand and supply over the next 100 years for the 90 natural elements. Fully half had, quote, limited availability. And of those, 12 were facing a serious threat. Why am I so optimistic in the face of these credible dire warnings? Because I and others in my eco-moderist tribe, that's a fancy title, eco-moderist tribe.
Moderist?
Yeah, have
I don't like it.
Yeah, have a lot of faith that the two forces of capitalism and technological progress will continue their extraordinary track record of providing for our wants and needs. Abraham Lincoln wrote that the patent system, quote, added the fuel of interest to the fire of genius in the discovery and production of new and useful things.
Wrong.
The fire of genius is a wonderful label for technological progress. The fuel of interest is an equally conscious summary of capitalism. They interact in a self-reinforcing and never-expanding cycle. How will this cycle work, or how has this cycle worked in the past? Look at the two telling examples, and it just goes on and on. But there's like two quotes that I really wanted to read, and I have to find them because they're like way down in the fucking article because they bury the good shit. Blah 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 blah.
I gotta get you to look at those ads, man.
Strip club announcer's voice.
Yeah. Where is the article? Or where's the article? I'm fucking retarded.
Most professional podcast ever.
Okay.
This is
In
the
fact,
kind of podcast.
it's just bros, man. It's just bros. All right. In fact, I'm confident that many countries will be able to increase their overall output of food and other products in the decades ahead while using fewer metals, minerals, fertilizer, water, cropland, trees, fossil fuels, and other resources of the earth. I'm confident because America is already doing so. The U.S., which accounts for about 25% of the global economy, consumes more material goods year after year, yet continues to decrease consumption of the resources listed above. What's more, the country's use of both electricity and energy in general has been essentially flat for the past decade. How did the U.S. start getting more from less? By using the tools of the digital age, hardware, software, and networks to progressively dematerialize our consumption. In other words, we kept finding ways to use fewer atoms by using more bits.
Gee, it's almost like when there's an economic incentive, i.e. you save money to do things, people do it.
Like radical, right? Like that's just
holy crap.
It's like when people have a free market and there is a market demand and something fills that demand, it's good.
What?
These are the intellectuals of our time, boys.
Well, he quoted Abraham Lincoln, so I'm not going to put him on that list.
Yeah, I don't think I'd say intellectual at that point, but I mean, you know,
there's so much wrong with this. Jesus Christ!
But I mean, there's a lot wrong with it, but there's also a lot that he says right. And I agree with him. I agree with like people blame capitalism for the pollution and all this good stuff, but we know that's not capitalism because that's corporatism and all that. It's like the pipeline that just leaked like 5,000 barrels in South Dakota, but that wasn't free market capitalism. That was corporatism. It was used through eminent domain and stolen land and all that other stuff. But awkward brain fart.
Okay, well, let me jump in then because we're splitting hairs. Then we're talking about definition of capitalism, one of the most common topic among internet anarchists, right?
Yes.
And fuck, I don't give a fuck. Corporatism, capitalism, whatever. The system that's happening right now via the state is the problem because there's so much waste that doesn't go out in many different forms with agriculture. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. And fixing capitalism is not the thing that's going to do it. I don't even know if technology is the thing that's going to do it. I think permaculture is a much more sustainable and productive way to grow things. I think looking further back in our history is a better way to do this without waste.
Oh, I agree. I agree. It's absolutely, permaculture is absolutely fantastic. But the technology that we have now and the knowledge that we have now came about because people, through the interconnection of technology, through the use of the internet, through the interconnectivity, right? I mean, 50 years ago, the permaculture ideas that we have now didn't exist.
Yeah.
And that's, right. I think that's really what he's getting at is through people connecting and through modern technology, it allows people to connect more and allows people to become more efficient. And once people become more efficient, then they can find ways to use less resources.
Well, yeah,
that's the thing. Permaculture is more efficient. Permaculture is more efficient than factory farming.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why you rotate crops and you grow things naturally. And you don't have all this waste or areas that you can't fucking grow shit on because you've had to add all these chemical fertilizers to even make the ground able to support any kind of plant life whatsoever other than weeds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you see that too in even outside of food production. You see that in pretty much everything. I mean, the one that jumps to mind is in offices, right? Where we used to had the lumber industry had to produce a ton of paper because everything was done on paper. You had, drawers and drawers and drawers packed with all of this paperwork. And now all of that gets held on a single digital thing that you no longer have to worry about killing all of those trees to make them all into paper. Now we have computers that will take care of it for us. So, and then, and older computers use tons of resources to produce that we've now made far more efficient with things like, using superconductors, using carbon nanotubes, things like that. That's all technology. We're using even the technology itself that was already reducing waste. We've reduced the waste in that too. And all of that was because, well, if I can make it cheaper and sell it at the same price, I make more money. So there's an economic incentive for me to make things more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, look, my brother just bought like a 1 terabyte thumb drive. Like, how many trees does a 1 terabyte thumb drive save?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
How many minerals does that save compared to having a fucking 30 by 30 room water-cooled computer that was less than a terabyte? That was like a floppy disk's worth back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the American military is even now joining the 20th century by finally moving the nuclear arsenal off of floppy disks. Floppies.
That feels safe.
Not the 3.5, like the 3.5 inch diskettes. They were like
the
floppies.
Yes.
The 5-inch floppies.
Yeah, like I try
honestly,
to
they were probably vinyl 45s. That's probably what they were.
The tapes, the dual reel tapes moving. They actually are. If you ever actually look at the funny thing is actually that all of the DoD's computer files are backed up on those tapes in the basement.
Jesus
There's actually
Christ.
a level that's nothing but those to back everything up. But like I point out to people, to put in perspective how ridiculous we've advanced, this phone has something like 300,000 more times computing power than what sent somebody to the moon.
Yeah.
So like think about that.
Nuts.
And that's what, 40 years ago? 50 now?
50 years ago.
Yeah, so in 50 years we've managed to at extreme exponential rates increase what we can do. So if you apply that, I mean, that's just computers. Think about cars and trucks and trains, airplanes, all these other things have gotten more and more and more efficient. Battery technology, and think about all of the waste saved with lithium ion batteries and lithium polymer batteries and what we can do there. So obviously capitalism fucking works.
The free market does, at least. I'm not willing to put capitalism on it.
Imagine where we'd be if the government got out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, and think about that. I mean, compare that to, again, the fact that the United States military government was still using floppy disks in 2019 versus the private sector, which is going to stuff that is so much more powerful and more efficient and just overall better.
And don't forget that the U.S. government is the world's largest polluter
by enormous amounts.
Absolutely. Let me draw it back real quick to the beginning of the article here, where with the worry over providing for 2 billion more people, when there are problems with population, and especially in respect to anarchist ideas and ideas of governing and whatnot, the only thing that pops in my head is Dunbar's number, 150 people that you can know and that you can have in your tribe. I think with advancement of technology is obviously great, but I think the numbers are too big to coexist on the levels that we're trying to coexist. I think we have too many people trying to exist in too large of a tribe, because technology, in the form that it is today, agriculture, all that, is a blip on the human radar as far as how long as humans have been around. We're not evolved for this. This is something we're learning to deal with, and not very well. Look at all the depression, all that stuff, just from social that people aren't focusing on. And it's interesting to me that people are focusing on technology to find the way out for agriculture and for providing for people, versus looking back towards our history of permaculture, hunter-gathering, stuff like that. I'm not saying we have to have a world of hunter-gatherers, but there's no need to make a new system if the old system ain't broke. Permaculture and that kind of thing, I'll rail on that all day. But yeah, I think it's viable.
I can't disagree with that, because that's the existence that I want to live, if in my anarcho dream world. So I can't disagree with that. I think it's absolutely viable. But what you and I want
is too big, man.
Yeah, what you and I want isn't what everybody wants, right? So people
it doesn't matter. That's the thing. People can have what they want, but what matters is what's going to work. And people like to think that everybody's a special fucking snowflake and they can have whatever they want. but your biology says differently.
Are you suggesting that I am not a special snowflake and my mom lied to me?
You, Andrew, are a special snowflake.
I'm a very
specialist and most sexual of snowflakes.
I am
if
the
Facebook groups have anything to tell me about.
I'm a very pretty snowflake. I don't. It's just the way nature made me. I can't help.
A stripper snowflake.
Snowflake. That would be a good stripper name, Snowflake. Actually, I'm surprised I haven't dated.
Next up on the stage, we have a Snowflake. Make sure to tip your waitresses.
Well, I mean, I got a Crystal, a Candy, Misty.
I always like Chastity myself.
One of the most ironic names ever.
Yes, love it. Come here. Corrupt me, Chastity. Way off topic here. Save me, Jason.
We've diverged down one hell of a rabbit trail here.
Rabbit trail or rabbit tail?
Landing strip. Who knows?
Landing strip.
Right. But speaking of government involvement and all that good stuff, and awkward hashtag segue. Okay. Majority of voters support a federal jobs guarantee program.
Uh-huh.
And this is one of those Pew polls, so don't say majority of voters. It's a majority of people that they asked, which actually wasn't a whole lot of people. 484 people. Woo!
Yeah, I love that. They did the same thing with the gun owners in Wisconsin. The majority of gun owners in Wisconsin supported red flag law, and it's like some hyper left-wing Democrat talking point mouthpiece who did the study among just like Democrat, hyper left-wing FUD gun owners, and it was like 250 of them.
Really?
Yeah. All right. So
that makes me angry.
More than 70% of voters in a national poll released Wednesday said they support a federal jobs program. 42% of responders said they would, quote, somewhat support such a program, while 36% said they would strongly support it, according to a Harris Hill TV poll. 5%, quote, somewhat oppose such an initiative, while 6% strongly opposed, another 11% were unsure. Majorities also supported such programs when the results were separated by gender. 34% of women and 38% of men strongly supported the idea, while 45% of women and 40% of men strongly supported it. These motherfuckers have never read the Broken Window Fallacy.
Nope.
And it, like, I get that it was, they conducted among 1,000 registered voters online between 28th and 29th with the results based on nationally represented example 484 people. It has a 3.1% margin of error. Okay, so they asked 1,000 people, 484 responded, and somehow 42% of those people support a federal jobs program.
So what I'm hearing is that
I was going to say, it says,
well, a huge percentage. I'm hearing that a huge percentage of them then have never read a single economics anything, period, and don't understand how the world works.
Correct.
Calm down, candle maker or window maker or whatever the guy was.
I need to point out that they say more than 70% of voters. Is this the same, pool of voters, the 46% of people who actually vote in the U.S. versus 64% who don't vote in presidential elections? Because that's bottom of the barrel right there.
It's Hill TV, man. That's the way it is.
I'm going with bullshit.
So 70% of 484 is 338.8 people. So 338 people need to go read The Broken Window Fallacy.
Somebody needs to just hand them
pretty good.
Like Hazlitt's economics in one lesson to start with. Like, don't go too far with them because you might make their brains hurt. Just start easy and then work them in.
If it's only 383 people, I'll buy those books. Like, I thought we had an uphill battle as anarchists, but if that's all we're doing, let's get on this.
I have a link to a copy of Henry Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson at free PDF format.
It's on YouTube as well for free to listen to audiobook.
See, so we could just distribute it to all of them and then drop that number from 70%. I mean, I would guarantee that at least probably half of that 70% aren't actually all that literate anyway, but I mean, audiobook, right? They don't even have to read. So
I mean, they were registered voters, so
they're all in the Alex Jones situation.
Hook it on Nikes. Work it for me.
No. All right. Let's read about Krispy Kreme.
You better say it like it's all spelled with K's, because I swear to God, if you don't say it like it's spelled with K's.
What did I title it in the show notes?
Krispy Kreme crushes capitalism.
Okay. So Krispy Kreme crushes capitalism. Okay. Yeah. Krispy Kreme orders
with a K.
Krispy Kreme, both with K's, orders students to halt donut resale service. Yeah, this is out of St. Paul. It says an enterprising Minnesota college student who drove to Iowa every weekend to buy hundreds of Krispy Kreme donuts that he then sold to his own customers in the Twin Cities area has been warned by the confectionery giant to stop. There has been no Krispy Kreme stores in Minnesota for 11 years.
Fuck Minnesota.
Jason Gonzalez, 21, of Champlin, Minnesota, would drive 270 miles to a Krispy Kreme store in Clive, Iowa, pack his car with up to 100 boxes. Can you imagine driving 270 miles with 100 boxes of donuts? Like how? Like your stomach after 270 miles of smelling 120 donuts or 1,200 donuts.
You know, he ate 4 or 5 boxes. He's making plenty of money. I don't feel bad for that fact.
You know, the funny thing is, too, like, I just checked because, you know, obviously the Twin Cities are only, maybe 2 hours north of me.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, there's got to be a Krispy Kreme closer than that because we used to have one here in La Crosse. And I looked it up. No, that is, in fact, the closest Krispy Kreme.
Wow. You're not that good.
Clear south of Ames, Iowa.
Good. I don't get the hype.
Yeah, pack his car with up to 100 boxes, each carrying 12 donuts, and drive back up north to deliver to customers in Minneapolis, St. Paul. He charged $17 to $20 per box. He said some customers spent nearly $100 each time. Gonzalez said he did not receive a discount from the store in Iowa where he bought the donuts. But less than a week after the St. Paul Pioneer Press reported on his money-making scheme, Gonzalez received a phone call from Krispy Kreme's Nebraska office telling him to stop. The senior studying accounting at Metropolitan State University in St. Paul said he was told his sales created a liability for the North Carolina-based company. Krispy Kreme has not returned the Associated Press email requesting comment. Gonzalez, also known as the Donut Guy, would have made his 20th run to Iowa on Saturday. He told his Facebook followers on Thursday that he had been told to shut down operations. Quote, life happens, and it could be a sign that something else is meant to be.
Wait, he fucking stopped?
I don't know why he fucking stopped. What are they going to do to him?
Pussy.
What are they going to do to him? They can't actually do anything because they're his donuts. After he bought them, he can do with them as he pleases. You can't force him.
That is literally the point I wanted to make. Like, at what point in time, after you purchase something, does it stop being the property of manufacturer?
Okay. I'm going to throw some shade here on your show. Some legit shade towards another content creator person. Fucking Michael Storm says it's not your shit until you show the fucking receipt on the way out the door. Not the money exchange. That's not when it becomes yours, when you prove ownership. And fuck that shit. It happens when you pay for the fucking product.
Right? I mean, like, is it possession, like, quote unquote, 9/10 of the law? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so under that reasoning, then, so if I never actually show anyone the receipt and I just bought something in private party to private party, I never actually own it. There's a pretty big intellectual hole there.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, just apparently speaking reality gets you blocked and unfriended and, pariahed from that that audience, but who the fuck cares? I don't want anybody thinking that way talking to me anyways, but this is ridiculous. I'm just more disappointed that this kid stopped doing this. I mean, we're talking about running guns to Hong Kong, and this kid won't even sell Krispy Kreme donuts across state lines after he gets a slightly threatening call.
Yeah, exactly. This vaguely angry, hey, you should really knock that off. And he's like, oh, God!
He's so lucky a cop if a cop had stopped him.
Sir, do you
shot 72 times.
Do you have any drugs or weapons? Are those Krispy Kreme donuts? Oh, God!
Let me see your hands!
Yeah. There was no evidence, Chief. The guy reached for a gun.
Yeah. All we found are these empty boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts at the back.
The dog hit
evidence locker.
The dog hit on something, Chief. I don't know what it was. So But yeah, like
And
I have a stomach ache and need to go home early.
You can see it now. The cop shows up with a little bit of glaze dusted on his mustache. Fucking chickens! You've been back in the evidence locker again with that Coke. Oh, sir, I confiscated Krispy Kremes.
Yeah.
wasn't there a story? I want to say last year, maybe like 6 or 8 months ago, where a guy was arrested because the roadside test tested positive for a banned substance, but it turned out that after the lab test, it was just like donut glaze.
Yeah, it was. It's the $2 test, the legendary $2 drug tests that are kick out so many false positives that no court will let them hold up to scrutiny at all. And
but it's enough to get you in cuffs and thrown in a cage.
Yeah, exactly, and then extort money from you for bail and everything else. But yeah, it tested positive for methamphetamines, so they collected it. They arrested him for possession with intent to distribute, and it turned out that it was just glaze from a glazed donut, which is what he'd been like, I don't have any drugs. I have no idea what that is. I don't know. It's on the floorboards of my car. I have no idea what that is. It could be anything. And
one would figure of all things on the earth, of all people on the earth, a cop would know what donut glaze looks like.
Yeah. Taste it a little bit.
I'm just saying,
Pretty
if
sure
that was me, that they if that was me that they used that test kit on and I got arrested, I swear to God, if the media didn't come up with a headline about cops, drug tests, and donuts that was hilarious, I would be pissed. That's all I'd want out of that. Put me in a cage for a night, charge me some money, but I swear to God, if you don't make fun of cops with this headline, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Well, there's that high-speed chase a few years ago too, involving an actual donut truck, and like the cop actually like threatened like the local media outlet over it because they kept showing the photos of all of these cops chasing a donut truck down the road. And like, it's not funny. No, it is. It is.
He feared for his life every time he saw the story.
I think it had been stolen or something, and like the guy stole the donut truck and took off, and of course the cops are going to go after that much more vehemently than the average thing because that's theirs. See, you're messing with them now.
That's the coffee and donut break, boys. We can't let that go.
Somebody stole a car, and how is that my problem? It was the donut truck. Oh my God, the monster!
Code red.
Just
all
everybody.
units.
SWAT unit. And...
All right. Perfect segue. Not awkward this time. All right. Judge says cops need qualified immunity to stop mass shootings. Judge James C. Ho of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals offered a novel theory this week. Quote, if you want to stop mass shootings, we should stop punishing police officers who put their lives on the line to prevent them. A majority of judges hearing the case disagreed. The story begins in 2013 when sheriff's deputy in Kaufman County, Texas, responded to the report of a man terrorizing a neighborhood by kicking mailboxes, pointing a gun at residents' houses, and yelling, quote, I'm just trying to get back what's mine. One complaint stated that the man was, quote, walking up and down the street, screaming and firing a gun. Upon arriving at the scene, officers Gabriel, however you pronounce his last name, and Matthew Hines, a defendant in the suit, stated that they encountered a black man wearing a brown shirt. He allegedly fired one round at the officer.
Hinojosa.
Yes, what he said. Before ducking out of sight on 2 occasions. Then Gabriel Windsor, wearing a blue shirt, quote, emerged from behind a house and biked towards the officers. Ho writes prompting them to open fire. Windsor retreated. He was found several minutes later in his father's backyard with 4 gunshot wounds to the chest, shoulder, and upper back. His dad was with him, quote, trying to comfort and revive him. As Windsor lay dying, officers attempted to handcuff him, but he resisted, so they tased him. Only then were paramedics allowed to enter this scene when he was pronounced dead a short time after. Windsor was 25 years old. He was mentally handicapped and probably wasn't the man terrorizing the neighborhood.
Look out, he's got a bike.
Yeah. Host defense, this is the judge. Host defends the officers fiercely, disregarding all evidence that contradicts the idea that Windsor was guilty. So he mentions that Windsor's father had several firearms in his home, but he admits the fact that Kaufman's County own sheriff confirmed that a gun was never found on Windsor. He also ignores the fact that the officers themselves say the man who fired at them was dressed differently, and he skips over the implausible part of their testimony, the part where Windsor, quote, brought his handgun to a firing position while riding a bicycle.
I mean, that's talented.
Feather that bastard. Tar and feather that bastard and hang him from the nearest tree. What a scumbag.
Yeah. Cops need qualified immunity to stop mass shootings. They shot a handicapped guy on a bike wearing a different color shirt than the suspect.
Yeah. And so they were somehow preventing a mass shooting. Even though no cop in history has ever prevented a mass shooting, literally ever.
Yeah. All right.
They like to hide more.
This quote from the judge. Okay. I have to take deep breath on this one. Okay. This is from the judge. He says, quote, "It is unknown how many lives were saved by those deputies on April 27th, 2013. What is known, however, is that Kaufman County will now stand trial for their potentially life-saving actions, and that its taxpayers, including those who will forever be traumatized by Windsor's acts of terror, will pick up the tab for any judgment."
Wait, why is he assuming...
I'm getting mad!
This is... I just... What? What?
Remember, Windsor was the mentally disabled kid on the bike.
Mentally disabled
with the
kid
different colored shirt
on a bicycle.
Where's this at? Where did this happen?
Kaufman County, Texas.
Kaufman County, Texas. I know there's people listening from there. Go tar and feather this piece of shit. What the fuck? Let me know when you're going to do it. I'll drive there.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
The particulars of the case aside, Ho's support, that's the judge again, Judge Ho, support for the officers rest on the unfortunate legal doctrine of qualified immunity. This holds that public servants can violate someone's constitutional rights without fear of civil suits if those rights have not been, quote, clearly established by previous case law.
Don't forget that they intentionally avoid establishing jurisprudence.
Yes.
If they can help.
In the case before the court, the county argued that the officers did not breach Windsor's Fourth Amendment rights because they had, quote, probable cause to think Windsor posed a threat of serious bodily harm.
Probable cause because he was a mentally disabled kid dressed differently than their suspect without a gun but on a bicycle.
Yes.
Happen to have the same colored skin, right?
Yep, they all look the same apparently to the officers in Kaufman County, Texas. So
and Judge Ho.
Yeah, and the Judge Ho.
Judge
that guy.
Judge James C. Ho of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Really fucking Texas has been fucking up with this shit.
Well, and I point that out to people so often, and I just did it earlier today again, where I pointed out, the thing is that so many people that live in the American South love to try and pretend that somehow they're all rebels and they're all independent and everything else. But I have never seen the level of state worship and back the blue and support the troops and flag humping and authoritarian police statism from everyone in power like I see in the South up here. Ever. Up
especially
here,
Texas.
That shit doesn't fly.
Especially Texas.
Yeah, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina are really, really bad. Virginia's really bad. Louisiana, you can apparently go to jail or go to prison for 5 years if you tell a cop that you are going to file a complaint against them.
Fuck.
So
I'm going to Louisiana. This is going to be a road trip. We're going to do it for the show.
Because it's intimidating a public servant by telling them that you're going to file a formal complaint. So then they charge you.
Knew they were pussies.
Yep.
Fuck.
Yeah, but in California, you can shit on the fucking sidewalk and drop your hypodermic needles in the gutter, and it's cool.
That's fine. Just don't use a plastic straw.
Just don't use a plastic straw. Yeah. And in San Francisco,
you need to start carrying hockey sticks.
Yeah, and in San Francisco,
Whip
it's illegal.
Whip the shit on the street at the cops.
Here's one for this is stupid. In California, not California, in San Francisco, it's illegal to possess hollow point ammo.
Get the fuck out of there.
Think about that one. Yeah. But you can shit on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and you know the people who drive a lot of that hoplophobic stuff and then all that hysteria, it's because they don't understand how any of it works. But especially like hollow point ammunition, it's designed to be a safer round for everyone around you when you use it because it flattens in the target and it doesn't overpenetrate. That's its freaking point. It opens up like a parachute and it stops within the soft target and it doesn't keep going and then hit somebody behind them. That's the idea. It's the same reason that federal air marshals use frangible ammunition because they don't want to accidentally overpenetrate and hit somebody else. It doesn't make it more deadly.
That's more devastating for the target too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, a hollow point opening up will cause a significant, especially if it's supersonic, then you get a massive hydraulic shock out of it. And cavitation
well, that's why
significantly.
They don't want cops shot with hollow point then, right? I'm surprised by that. Yeah, well, I guess I'm not surprised by that they would ban that versus non-hollow point so that fuck the public. It can go through the cop and hit somebody else, but as long as it doesn't cause massive damage.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing with hollow points is because they're designed to mushroom. So as soon as they hit anything with force, they start to mushroom. So like there have been reports of people using like 380 hollow points, and them expanding and opening up on like thick Carhartt jackets.
Yep.
Right.
So if you're wearing a vest of any kind, like a soft vest, a hollow point's not going through it.
Yeah, a relatively cheap. Very commercially available thin Kevlar vest. Not even hard, no plates, thin Kevlar will stop most hollow point ammunition on impact with it. Damn. Because it'll just open up on it. So it's not even about the cops, it's about the fact that somebody told them that they were scary. And so that's why. It's the same reason that people want to try and that they keep trying to relabel M855 as armor piercing. Even though M855 is only a partial steel core, and that's solely to stabilize the round.
That's
nothing else.
The green tip 556.
Yep, green tip 556. So there's
556 NATO.
Yeah, well, and then you also have they're also now freaking out about what's the aluminum one? The aluminum training round. Now I don't remember, but there's an all aluminum training round. It has no lead in it. That the U.S. military has gone to start using for training because then that way you're not, poisoning all of the ground that is around your ranges. And they now, because that's also available to civilians, now people are freaking out and saying that it's armor piercing because it's a solid aluminum round. And I'm like,
if you know anything about aluminum, it's really fucking soft.
It's incredibly soft.
So, all right, speaking of cops, and we're going to make Nick really angry again. Cops destroyed this house to arrest a shoplifter. A federal court says police don't have to pay for the damage.
They blew up the house.
Literally absolutely fucking wrecked the house.
This is when you go get your reparations. Just go fucking do it. This is where the community comes together and you go fucking get it. Jesus fucking Christ.
A federal appeals court ruled this week that the Colorado man who had his home destroyed by a police raid in 2015 is not entitled to compensation for the damage, which was severe enough to require a complete demolition of the house. Quote, under no circumstances in this country should the government be able to blow up your house and render your family homeless, Leo Leck, the homeowner, told NPR after the court ruling on Wednesday. The raid, which left Leck and his family homeless, had nothing to do with any of them. They weren't even home when an armed shoplifter broke into the house on South Alton Street in the leafy Denver suburb of Greenwood Village. Although the burglar was armed with only a handgun and was fully barricaded inside the home, local police responded as if they were confronting Osama bin Laden. Quote, unleashing a display of force commonly reserved for the battlefield, the tactical team bombarded the building with high-caliber rifles, chemical agents, flashbang grenades, remote-controlled robots, armored vehicles, and breaching rams, all to extract a petty thief with a handgun.
Yeah, and look at the house. I mean, if you're watching the video version, look at this. This is what they did to that house.
Describe it for us.
They wanted to use their toys.
So you have giant holes where there used to be windows. Like there aren't even frames in there anymore. They're so blown out. And it's every single window. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows that are completely blown apart. And it's got to be an extra foot of gap on either side of those windows that have been completely torn out. The door is clearly blown off of its hinges, and there's a pile of shrapnel and detritus outside the house.
Yeah. At one point during the 2-day operation, the cops drove an armored vehicle through the home's front door. When it was all over, the house was unlivable. Greenwood Village condemned the structure, forcing Leck to have it torn down, and the city offered him a measly $5,000 to cover the damage.
I'm going to say it again. I'm getting mad.
That prompted Leck's lawsuit, which has been winding its way through federal court for several years. Leck claimed that the city was liable because its Constitution's taking clause, which forbids governments from taking private property for public use without just compensation. That would be the Fifth Amendment. A federal district court ruled in 2016 that the city wasn't liable. The 10th Circuit Court of Appeals agreed, and the ruling issued Wednesday. 3 judges said police cannot be held liable for damage caused while trying to apprehend a suspect.
That's Fourth Amendment, actually, not Fifth.
Oh, whatever.
Correct. Why?
The defendant's law enforcement actions fell within the scope. Okay, this is quote. The defendant's law enforcement actions fell within the scope of the police power, and actions taken pursuant to the police power do not constitute takings, the judge wrote. Leck did get a $345,000 payout from his homeowner's insurance, but that was not enough to cover the full value of the home, which was appraised at $580,000. And this payout did not cover the cost of the demolition or the loss of other property inside the home. Leck ended up having to take out a $390,000 loan to cover the cost of rebuilding in 2017.
So just, I mean, to sum this up here, they literally blew a man's house up.
They destroyed his house to the point that it was deemed unlivable and was told to tear it down.
And because, well, they didn't technically get anything out of that, so they didn't technically take it. Mm-hmm. Now, they're not on the hook for anything, which means that if in the course of pursuing a suspect, they accidentally set fire to an entire shopping mall and kill 300 people, they're not liable because, well, oops, they were going after, they didn't take anything, they were going after a suspect. Sorry. Suck.
This is literally like a local definition of the supremacy clause in the Constitution. The same clause that was used by now AG William Barr to keep Lon Hiroshi out of a cage.
This is also exactly the kind of thing that copsuckers overlook in their defense of cops. Those few bad at their jobs. Look at the system behind them, which is fucking people over.
The just us system. Because what you're doing when you sue a police department is you are asking government to discipline government and then hoping for a good outcome.
Yep.
I mean, think about how insane that is. Imagine, I mean, transport it
Same as
outside of the
voting.
United States. Transport it outside of the United States to any other country, especially a equally tyrannical one, in my opinion, like say, oh, I don't know, the former USSR. And imagine going and to saying, hey, the KGB tossed my apartment, and I really think that you guys should do something about that. Do you think that anything's going to happen there? Does that sound like that's likely to get you compensation at all? So
You go to Gulag now.
yeah. Oh, very interesting. You go to Gulag. That's what you're getting. A one-way ticket to Siberia.
Funny joke.
I mean, imagine doing that with the mob. Because let's be honest, the government is just a really well-organized criminal syndicate. Think about that, going to the mob and saying, hey, your mob guys, when they shot that dude. And actually, the irony is that chances are you would get a better response out of the mob. If you went to the mob, and if you lived in New York in the 70s and you owned a pizza joint and they shot somebody, a gang leader in your shop, and it ruined business for you, and you went to them and they said, and you said, hey guys, like you killed this guy and you ruined my shop, you shot it all up, and you went to them and you request, chances are actually way better that the mob would help you rebuild and say sorry about that than the police will.
And there's also
because they gave a fuck about the community because they were a part of it.
And I think this is something Andrew and I talked about a little bit. Is this was a shoplifter that was stealing from a private, quote unquote private. I mean, Walmart's not fucking private, but a private company, right? If this was done by some sort of recovery agents hired by the company that was stolen from, they would be absolutely fucking liable, right?
Completely.
Sure.
They would be totally on the hook for that.
Yep. But because it's public agents and they have special badges and special uniforms,
that qualified immunity so they can stop the mass shooters.
Because that was totally a mass shooter that was stealing from fucking Walmart.
Yeah, the dude shoplifted from Walmart. Clearly, he's a criminal mastermind and must be stopped.
Yeah, driving MRAP through the front door, man. It's worth it for that. What did he steal? A pack of underwear? Come on.
like he didn't walk out with like a fucking shopping cart full of TVs or something. I mean, this is.
I mean, this is the equivalent. This is the equivalent of the paper boy from Better Off Dead, like lobbing a grenade through John Cusack's car window. Like that's what this is.
And it said it was a petty theft, so that's less than $500 worth, $500 value.
And in return, they did $1 million worth of damage.
Yeah.
They destroyed a $580,000 house. Yeah.
Well, they wanted to use their fancy toys, the stuff that they're getting government grants and buying from the military surplus. They wanted to bust that shit out. What they said they used a fucking robot, right?
Yeah, they used their EOD robot thing and
remote control robot.
Yeah, I mean those are cool.
Come on.
They're fun. I think if I had one, I'd use it to go get myself beer all the time, just right from the couch. Yeah. Just drive it in there and it'd be great.
I don't see you taking down a $500,000 house to get yourself beer with your robot, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, not intentionally, but the robot, if it's got AI, I mean, eventually that might happen.
Depends on how late in the night it is and how out of beer you are.
Okay.
Just drive it right through.
All right, Greenwood Village has like 57,000 people. The county has 572,000 people. I have twice that many people in my county. My county does not have remote control EOD robots.
Well, I don't know what to tell you about that, man.
Yeah, this is the equivalent. So here's the other funny thing.
I'm sorry. Greenwood Village, 15,000 people.
15,000 people in the entire town.
Yes.
So God forbid if Walmart gets stolen from. We want justice around here in Greenwood Village.
So I live in a city that comes in at about 65, 66,000 people, something like that. The entire county has. Oh no, we've actually shrunk. Never mind. Sorry, we're about 52,000 people in the city, 118,000 people in the entire county, and we have 2 armored cars, an EOT robot.
Hold on. Pause that. Nick, you want to stay for one more real quick, or?
Yeah, I can do.
Okay,
do
Nick,
one more.
Nick says he's got to go, but we're gonna do one more, and we're gonna do. He'll like this one. Okay, this is out of Bloomington, Indiana. 125 parking meters spray painted and filled with expanding foam in downtown Bloomington.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
This is good.
This is
When
simple.
the meme is good.
It's a simple sabotage.
Fucking action, motherfucker.
From Ben Stone, Sedition, Subversion, and Sabotage. She says that simple sabotage should not require specially prepared tools or equipment. It is executed by an ordinary friend of freedom who may or may not act individually and without the necessity for an active connection with an organized group, and it is carried out in such a way to involve a minimum danger of injury, detection, or reprisal. That is from Sedition, Subversion, Sabotage. Okay, but Bloomington police officers are working to track down the persons responsible for vandalizing 125 parking meters in downtown area. A parking enforcement officer discovered the crime this morning. Police say someone spray painted the meters pink and green and filled the coin and card slots with expanding foam. They estimate it will cost around $5,000 to fix the damage. Quote, I got out of my car and I walked around and there was spray foam insulation coming out of the holes and it was crazy, says Allie McHaley. McHaley works downtown. She discovered the mess this morning.
Crazy.
The parking meters are are located around the square and along nearby downtown streets. Replacement parts to fix the damage are on their way. Unlike those, until those get here, parking enforcement is asking people to please use the Park mobile phone app to pay for parking. Officers said they will not. Officers said that they will not ticket people who park at the meters that do not use the parking app.
Good.
Which means no one should pay for the parking because fuck you.
Which means if you pay for the parking, you're a fucking moron. And
yep, I reserve the use of the word cuck for special situations. And if you're gonna use a pay app for a fucked up parking meter, you're a cuck.
And this is absolutely beautiful to me. And we actually had a theoretical discussion on how this may have happened and what kind of actions people may have took to do this sort of thing. And it was like a really fun experiment. And yes,
inspiring.
It is inspiring. It is inspiring.
So a shout out. Well, I got to mention here. It was pink and green, and that is clearly a shout out to punk rock culture, if I've ever seen it. Pink and green is classic.
True punk rock culture, though, not the crap that you have now, where you have the one. What's the name of that beer company that did like where the punk rockers like spoke that they did a beer with spoke out against police, and then in response they now donate all of the proceeds to the ones who make Angry Bastard or whatever.
No way, Arrogant Bastard, Stone.
Yeah, Arrogant Bastard. Yeah, the Stone. Yeah, they the one beer that they did with a punk rock band in response to whatever band it was that spoke out against police. They then started donating the proceeds from that beer to like police relief organizations.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I'm so glad I stopped drinking that beer years ago. Fuck that, dude. I'm gonna bring that up. I don't have a lot of people listening to the show, but I'm bringing that up too. Fuck that. Get rid of those assholes.
Yeah, I actually screenshotted. I'll have to find it again. I actually screenshotted the page, and it's probably still up. If you go to their website and find that beer, it's still up there where it says a portion of the proceeds are donated to whatever police organization. I think it actually might be the FOB. I think it might actually be Fraternal Order of Police.
Bullshit. Well, as far as the article goes, I approve. This is something everybody can. I'm not saying I'm going to do it for legal reasons.
Yep, for legal reasons.
Is an opportunity.
Yeah, for legal reasons, none of us can recommend that you do that publicly. However, it's pretty fucking cool that someone did.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
whatever.
However, how much do you hate paying parking fees?
Oh, I hate them.
I
enough
hate
to do this.
Like you guys remember the whole thing with the Robin Hoods, Keene, New Hampshire, right? I mean, they would like walk ahead of the parking enforcement and feed the meters to keep the city from from just keep the city from writing parking tickets, and they actually cost the city like I think it was like $500,000 a year. To the point where they spent almost like $3 million suing the Robin Hooders for harassment and all this other stuff, and the judge just like kept throwing it out and siding with the Robin Hooders because they weren't doing anything illegal.
Yeah,
Nice.
So then they changed the law. It's actually illegal now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they changed the law in response, so it's illegal to feed a meter for a vehicle that is not yours. However, my response is, how do you prove that it's not mine?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't. If I feed a meter, if I'm just standing there and I feed a meter and I walk away, do you have no reason to stop me? I'm not suspected of a crime right now.
How do you prove that change didn't fall out of my hand and just happened to end up into the meter? You don't know.
Oops. And then in. That's,
very sketchy with my change.
There's another option, prepaid credit cards, prepaid debit cards.
It's true. Right? Hey, that's a good one.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but none of these are as good as putting fucking expanding foam and punk rock culturally significant spray paint on these meters, because you're paying the state still when you pay this shit. You get out of your car downtown and you look at a meter on homie's car and he's out of hours and you see that parking attendant. Just, have a little can of spray foam. Just a little, you're good to go. Just walk away. It's great.
Yep. There you go.
The homie out.
All right, plug your stuff real quick.
I gotta go. Oh yeah, Enemy of the State's Dank Pod Stash. You can find it on Facebook, YouTube, Minds, MeWe, all the Pod Stash or podcast catchers, whatever the fuck they're called. And patreon.com/the Dank Pod Stash. New exciting rewards starting this month. Thanks for having me on, brothers. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us on short notice, homie.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anytime. Take care.
Brother. Peace.
See you.
So cool.
And then there were two.
There's 1.5 because my throat is fucking killing. Well, we got that was really fast. We covered 6 articles in an hour.
I know we're never this quick.
No, normally it's 2 hours for 8 articles.
We still have a couple more though, I think, don't we?
I got two more. I got 2 more on the list. And one will be fast and the other one will be also fast. So we might have a short article unless you got something else, or short episode unless you got something else.
I'm sure I can come up with stuff to pull out of my ass to keep this going.
Oh, please don't pull anything out of your ass while you're on video.
It's this really cool magic trick. I'm not allowed to at children's parties anymore because of it. But
there was this one time at band camp.
It was real. I'm telling you though, it does wow everyone.
I saw a meme. I think it was yesterday, and it had Allison Hennigan, and it said it's sad that this generation will never know what she did at band camp.
Exactly. What the?
You can know what she did in the bedroom if you have Pornhub.
Yeah. I feel so. The funny thing is though, is I feel so old because I see these kids that you mention stuff from when we were younger, or the other day at work, me and my boss were quoting Anchorman back and forth. To each other, and and that's from when I was in high school, and we were quoting it back and forth and laughing, and kids today don't understand those jokes.
Okay, my son, I don't think I've really talked about him on the show. I have twins that are going to be 20 years old soon. My son is autistic. right? And video games are his thing. So he loves PC games, and he saw the trailer for the announcement for the new Diablo 4, right? Which, as we know, won't come out for like 6 fucking years because of Blizzard. But so he started looking, and he found like a free download of Diablo 2, right? Which I absolutely fucking loved that game.
I think of the Diablos, I actually think Diablo 2 was my favorite of them all.
Yes.
Like I really enjoyed it.
Diablo 3 was like map based, and I didn't like it. The Diablo 2 is open world, and it had a lot more expansion on your character. The skills and all that. So, but my son downloaded it and he started playing it, or he goes to play it, and he uses a PC, but then he has like an Xbox One controller. So he doesn't have to use the keys, and it won't work with it. And he's trying to figure out why, and he's looking it up, and he's like, oh, the controller came out in 2005. The game is from 2000, and I'm like, that game is as old as you are, Daniel. And I felt myself like age 10 years. I just felt so fucking old.
I laughed really hard. Yeah, because I discovered like Command and Conquer Red Alert is available like in emulators for your phone, so you can play it on your phone. Like it's been ported, and I was super excited, and I realized how fast it was running on my phone, and then I'm like, oh, because this has like 100,000 times faster processing rate than the computer that I had it on. Okay.
Red Alert, the Command and Conquer Red Alert, I think it ran on like Windows 98.
95 actually.
95. 95. Oh, fuck you very much.
Yeah, Windows 95 and 98 was what it ran on. I ran it on a laptop that was actually not dramatically thicker than the laptop I have now, but the laptop I have now is a gaming computer and has like a GPU and everything else built into it and a cooling system in the chassis. So that's why it's so thick. And that thing, it was just so that it could run. It needed to be that thick. It was huge.
Oh,
with a tiny, tiny screen.
We need to go play Oregon Trail because we're that fucking old.
Oh yeah.
All right. All right. This is lovely. I hate this fucking article because the cover photo is Nancy Pelosi. Federal income taxes and federal spending both set records in financial year 2019. The amount of money the federal government collected in individual income taxes and the total amount of money the federal government spent both set records in fiscal year 2019, according to the monthly Treasury statement released Friday afternoon. However, even while collecting a record amount of individual income taxes, the federal government still ran a deficit of $984,388,000,000 during the financial year. In financial year 2019, which began October 1st, 2018, and ended in September 30th, 2019, the federal government collected $1,717,857,000,000 in individual income taxes.
That's money stolen directly out of people's pockets.
Yes. And that was up $5,509,560,000 from the previous record that was collected in 2018. In financial year 2019, the federal government spent a record total of $4,446,584,000,000. That was up $261,665,170,000 from the previous total in 2009.
So think about what would happen if the United States economy and all of its people suddenly had $1 trillion.
1.7 trillion.
Okay, $1.7 trillion more in their pockets to spend. Imagine what would happen, number one. And number two, think about the fact that despite taking in $1.7 trillion. We're still running the kind of budget deficit that we are. And tell me how magically, if we all just pay even more taxes, we're going to go ahead and fix that issue.
Did you see Elizabeth Warren's, the total for Elizabeth Warren's spending bills?
42 billion?
No. 4.2 trillion.
Oh, $4.2 trillion. Yeah.
4.2 trillion in new spending each year.
Yeah.
On top of the like 4 point or 5, almost 5, I think the federal government spent. Right?
And this is, considering that our current national deficit for the United States is $20 trillion.
23.
$23 trillion.
23. It crossed,
well, once you get over 20.
It crossed 20. Yeah, it crossed 23 last week.
Yeah. So once you get over 20 trillion, what's another 1 or $10 trillion in deficit? That's that money, that national deficit, that is all against you. That is being borrowed against your labor.
Okay. The government spent $4,446,580 or $4,446,584,000,000. Right. The Treasury collected $3,462,196,000,000 in fiscal year 2019.
And we're only talking income tax, right? Like this is
that was total. That was
total.
That was total. Okay. So that was total taxes taken. Okay, so the government is literally spending like 125% of what it takes in.
When you do that, eventually you have to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah. But they're not going to declare bankruptcy because they have the world's largest military.
Yep. And that's the thing is, try and tell me that this isn't a giant house of cards that's going to come down eventually. There's no way this is sustainable. There's no way this lasts.
It's a house of cards that is on fire and a fan blowing.
All it takes,
and people are kicking the table.
And somehow it remains. But all it takes is that one tiny little thing that's going to knock it all down. And when it all comes down, the government ceases to function. And when that happens, the people in the liberty movement need to be ready to seize that opportunity.
And yet again, another good reason to be a fucking prepper and have some shit stored.
You're going to want stuff stored away. You're going to want to make sure you have weaponry, you have ammunition, you have body armor, you are fully prepared.
Nick is going to be upset he missed this conversation.
I know. Right after he leaves. Sorry about that, buddy.
Sorry, Nick. We need to do a whole episode on just like prepping.
Yeah, that would be cool. I really like to do a prepping podcast series personally. That would be
I had a Facebook page for a while called Anarcho Prepper, but that was when I was going through some stuff. So it's long dead, but
see, and that's my concern with actually setting up an Inked Anarchist Facebook page is like I'm going to get burned out on it and I'm going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just like have it die on me. So
you need to find more Inked Anarchists.
Yes, so that I can have multiple admins to keep it going.
Yeah. I have multiple admins and one posts.
Hey, I post occasionally on stuff. I post things. It's just I like forget. Like I post it to my own page and I'm like, oh hey, maybe I should. And like you'll be like, hey, why don't you throw that up there? Oh hey, maybe I should.
So yeah, the government is stealing lots and lots of money from people and spending even more than it steals.
And that's a constant.
And you think fucking voting for somebody is going to change that?
boy, that Trump, he sure is a great businessman. He's running the federal government exactly the same way he ran his businesses because, oh, yeah, he's filed for bankruptcy a whole fucking bunch.
And it's fucking hilarious because there's other articles on the government spending and the government deficit and like $1 trillion deficit, right? $1 trillion deficit, and they blame the tax cuts for the lack of for the lack of income. Like, it's not a fucking income problem.
No,
it's not an income problem.
If you and again, like I love to point this out, like if you were trying to run your household the way the government runs fiscally, you would wind up evicted and you would wind up on the street and completely destitute very, very, very quickly.
End up in San Francisco shitting on the sidewalk.
Exactly. That's what would happen because it's not sustainable. You can't do this. And trying to just say, well, because basically saying we need to raise taxes or we need to have more taxes to make this up is the equivalent of making, you make $30 an hour, but you're spending the equivalent of $50 an hour. And then you go, oh, hey, I found this new job and now I'm making $100 an hour, so I'm good. But then you spend like you are making $200 an hour and you wonder how the hell that happens. Making more money isn't the answer. Controlling your goddamn spending is. The money going out is the problem. And the United States government spends money like, they print the stuff.
I'm looking something up. Sorry. Keep talking.
Oh, so they spend it like they print it. Because they do. And they have a huge military that if anyone wants to call in those debts, they're going to go, no, what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to give you that money. And what are you going to do in response? Nothing, because they have a whole bunch of freaking tanks. The only country who has a huge amount of our debt that stands an even tiny chance of actually being able to call it all in is China, which is why they're the bad guys so much. Especially for guys like Trump who are populists. They want to throw it all at China and ignore the fact that China is not the problem. They are. The government is. The people that voters keep voting for and the voters themselves, they are the problems. They're the issue. They're the cause. All you're doing by trying to say, well, we need to raise taxes is trying to treat a symptom and not even treat it well. You're not trying to treat the disease, and the disease at the end of the day is government and people who support it.
Let's see. I'm trying to look up like the total collective worth of the 1%. I know it's not as much as people think it is. I think in the U.S. it's like the total collective net worth of the 1% in the U.S. I think it's like less than $2 trillion, which would be enough to fund the government for like 8 months or something like that.
Yeah, if they completely confiscated every time of their wealth.
Forbes' annual list of the 400 wealthiest Americans and members' combined net worth currently equals a $1.7 trillion. The federal government just spent $4.4 trillion in the last year.
But clearly the rich people not paying their fair share, that's the issue, right?
Yeah. You could confiscate every single dollar from the Forbes 400 list in the U.S., and it would run the federal government for less than 6 months.
Yeah.
But it's Trump's tax cuts that are responsible for the deficit.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, people. Go fucking eat a Tide Pod and calm down.
Well, yeah, and you look at how the deficit has just climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed. And then you have people who go, well, when Clinton was in office, before Bush got in office, when Clinton was in office, we had a budget surplus. We had a budget surplus. Budget surplus. That means that we took in more money than we planned on spending. That doesn't actually mean that we weren't in debt anymore, morons.
Like, I read something the other day too that said that the U.S. spends more on its annual the interest rate for the national debt. It spends more on the interest rate for the national debt than it spends on the Department of Education.
Just paying off what they already owe.
And you wonder why everything is going to shit. Not that the government actually educates people, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, their priorities are pretty clear here. And look at what the average defense contractor makes off of the government.
Yes, and what's fucked up is like the defense contractor lobbying. It's not even at the top of the list.
It doesn't have to be, because they've already done all of that over the course of years and years and years. There's no government, there's no power, and there's no profit in peace. Well, there's not. Nobody in terms of like defense contractors and for the most part the government make money when we are in Pax Americana. Okay? That is not good for business for the defense contractors.
Yeah.
It's very, very bad.
All right, happy. How about we're just going to go into a happy one. The last article that we have is voluntarism in action. I think like we started doing this a while back, like a voluntarist article like once a show, and we got away from it. I think we need to start doing it again, just like one positive article per show.
Always end on a positive note. I learned that in leadership training.
Didn't you learn to kill people in leadership training? Or is this different leadership training?
Well, no, this was leadership. The leadership training is after. You've already learned how to do that. And they're like, hey, by the way, you should be nice to the guys that also help you kill people. Because it may have escaped your notice that they also have guns.
That's kind of totally contradictory. But
well, I mean,
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, that's always what you do is you always make sure that you end on a positive note and telling them what they did well.
You fucked up and you killed 37 of your squad members, but hey, you tried your best and you looked really good doing it.
But hey, points for your marksmanship as you were slaughtering them. So
you did that. That was a nice headshot on that little brown kid.
Yeah. Let's talk about the good things that you did as you accidentally murdered this entire village.
All right. If you see a need, try to fill it. Wisconsin teen hopes to inspire others. Manitowoc, Manitowoc.
Manitowoc.
Okay, what he said. In 2012, Leah Hale knew something had to be done when a 3-year-old boy mistakenly thought donation items she brought to the Hope House were gifts for his birthday. Leah, who was 9 at the time, said she hadn't really thought about families who couldn't afford birthday parties for their kids before meeting the toddler. She asked the director of the homeless shelter a lot of questions that day about whether birthday parties were hosted there before or if they could be. Quote, the idea of doing birthday parties at Hope House was already forming in her mind on the car ride home, at least Leah's mother, Tiana, recalled. The little boy was dressed in a Thomas the Tank Engine shirt, blue shorts, and one blue sock, so Leah decided to throw him a blue-themed party. She and her mom bought balloons, a cake, and a gift back to Hope House for the child's birthday. This was the birth of the Hopeful Hearts Club, Leah's nonprofit group that hosts birthday parties for kids staying at the Hope House. Each child gets a gift, a cake, and party decorations at no cost to the families. Hopeful Hearts Club started with Leah and 2 friends. Today it has grown to more than 1,000 members. People who have donated their time, talents, or items to Leah's projects. Club members come from all over the world, from New York to Los Angeles to San Antonio, even Canada, Australia, and Italy. Leah tailors parties to make them more specific for each child. She's learning Spanish and wants to learn sign language to expand her ability to connect with families. In addition to birthday parties at Hope House, the club hosts events such as collection drives, holiday meals, and family activities like its Valentine's Day party, Halloween party, or summer picnics. Leah is planning a Thanksgiving dinner. So many donors have stepped forward that she plans to provide meals to the haven of the county also. She's a sophomore at Lincoln High School. and has won plenty of accolades for her work.
Yeah, Manitowoc is generally ranked as the worst city in all of Wisconsin by Wisconsinites. It is really bad. It's on the edge of Milwaukee.
She was named the 2016 Manitowoc Volunteer of the Year.
Manitowoc. It's Manitowoc. It's like Ashwaubenon or
it's Wisconsinite. I cannot pronounce Wisconsin names.
They're native names though. They're native names. So it's like Manitowoc is, I want to say Fox. I could be wrong. I don't know. But they're native.
Yeah.
Names.
In 2017, Leah co-founded a service group called Backpack Buddies with 3 of her friends. The program ensures children in foster care in the county receive a backpack of supplies when they go to a new home. The backpack includes items such as soap, shampoo, toothbrushes, as well as comforts like stuffed animals, toys, and books.
And that's freaking awesome. Like,
she's a junior in high school or sophomore in high school, whatever it is.
And who doesn't like throwing birthday parties for little kids? I mean, honestly, everybody loves throwing birthday parties for kids. It's a lot of fun. They really enjoy it. And these are kids that are in situations in their lives that they really, really need it. And no one's making her do this. She just decided that she wanted to do this because she wanted to make somebody who needed to be cheered up happy. That was it.
Yesterday, I had a family event. And my cousin Tiffany and her partner, they are a temporary foster home. They have kids going through there all the time. And yesterday they happened to have a little 9-year-old girl named Donna, and they brought Donna to the little family event. I had so much fun hanging out with this little girl. This little girl was as sassy as fuck. She shut me up a few times with her sarcasm and sass, and I am a fucking sarcastic person, right?
Oh.
She got me a few times, but and my cousin actually told me that girl laughed more yesterday than she had in the entire month that she's been with Tiffany, that she's been with my cousin. And when I went to leave, the little girl gave me a hug and said, "See you later, Uncle Jay." I fucking cried in the car. All right. I'm just saying, I'm just like, these people aren't there by their own circumstance. This little girl was abused and she had scars from burns. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but it's absolutely beautiful that this girl, this sophomore in high school, you guys, sophomore in high school, and she's doing this. Like, she has 2 volunteer organizations going helping foster kids, and you people are wondering, but who will build the roads?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
if a sophomore can figure out that people are capable of helping people without government getting in the way.
2 different volunteer programs.
Yeah, 2 of them, and she's running them. They're hers. And still going through high school. But I mean, that's the thing though too, is like you got to remember, like, and I've been homeless multiple times and stayed in shelters and everything else. Thankfully I had, family to help me where my kids never had to go through that. But it doesn't take a lot for somebody in situations like that, especially kids in that situation, to really do something that means the world to them. And somebody still caring about their birthdays is such a simple thing.
Small acts of kindness go a long, long way when you're literally hopeless. When you're down like that. Just small little things can change everything. So.
Oh yeah. And that's what she's doing, and it's pretty simple. Like, well, I mean, I wouldn't mind getting involved in that. And I'm only like maybe an hour and a half away from it. Well, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, maybe 2.5 most, but hours away from it. Like, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to getting involved in that. That would be a lot of fun. Bring birthday cakes to kids in shelters and be like, hey, here you go, like, happy birthday, woo, and celebrate. Is I love celebrating little kids' birthdays because, like, I hate my birthday because it means that I'm getting even older. But for them, it's a big deal because you're getting older and they're still at that age where they're excited about it. It's still exciting. Then once you hit 21, it starts to get downhill real quick. But
my next one is my 40th, so I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're like, oh no, 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 no. Yeah, and that's the thing is it's it's a really small act of kindness. It's not very expensive. They're getting a gift, so it's not like they're getting a truckload of gifts. They get one gift, which is probably, maybe $50-$60, if that. It's
probably not even that. Like probably a little toy, something inexpensive.
Yeah,
they get a birthday cake, balloons. It's not a lot, but it does mean a lot, and entirely voluntary. That's the thing. That's the thing I'm trying to get at here. It's entirely voluntary. No coercion went into it. Like nobody's taxed for it. So.
Yep, she's not looking for grants. She's not looking for handouts from the government. She's looking for individuals to privately decide that they are going to help this cause, that they are going to donate to it.
She did get a grant. She did get a grant from a private company, U.S. Cellular. She got a $10,000 grant from them.
Right, but not a government grant. It was from a private company. Yet again, no government involvement. This is a private company voluntarily doing this. No one's making them.
This is a sophomore again, you guys. She wasn't even a sophomore when it started. She's a sophomore now. So she was younger than a sophomore when she started this program. And we can't organize on how to fix a road?
Yeah, somehow the wide flat thing is too complicated.
There must be bureaucracy involved.
I know, because no one could ever figure out, oh, hey, I just need to make this wide flat thing. No one could ever do that on their own. Ever. And
where are these deer going? They're not allowed on that.
Yeah, what is happening? I don't know how to handle this. Come on. And Iowa Highway 6, I think it's Highway 6.
Oh, something like that. The farmers.
Was built in an hour, one afternoon. The entire highway. And the present day Highway 6 that you drive on is on top of the original road that was built that afternoon. And it was, I forget how many farmers were involved in that, but it was just a bunch of people, and they built a road in an afternoon.
Yeah, the U.S. Highway 6, 319 miles across the state of Iowa. Let's see, where's it at? Come on, damn it, this stupid slow loading piece of... Yeah. Before the U.S. highway system came into being in 1926, roads in Iowa were maintained and promoted by local organizations which sought to drive traffic into their communities. Two such communities created virtually parallel routes connecting Council Bluffs to Davenport via Des Moines. The routes were the Great White Way and the Northern River-to-River Road. Yeah.
Well, who would build the roads? Farmers, apparently, would build the roads. Because, and I realize this may shock some people, people need their businesses to be accessible in order to get customers.
Yeah. It's not complicated, you guys. Come on now.
Yeah, this isn't hard. This is a very, very simple concept. Like, no one's going to build a business in the middle of a field and then go, God, I'm not getting any customers. Why isn't anybody coming here? That isn't going to happen.
The same entity you're asking to build the roads destroyed a guy's house over a shoplifter.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the other argument that you get against anarchism frequently is, well, but if you just have these private security companies and stuff, they'll run amok and they'll just be tyrannizing people. And I'm like, oh, because that would be very different than the way the police are operating right now.
Qualified immunity. Go fuck yourself with that BS.
Exactly. That's the thing, is like, you got to remember that this is about, what we're talking about here is with these private security firms is they would actually be held accountable monetarily and real responsibility wise and being punished by some sort of arbiter or something. They would be accountable for this, for their actions. The police are not, and are blowing up people's houses. And it's not like that's the first time they've destroyed someone's house over something minimal. They do that frequently. In fact, they occasionally knock people's doors in and threaten them all with guns and murder their dogs when it isn't even the house that they're looking for. And nothing ever happens.
Nope. It's let's see. Oh, here's one for. Okay, we got one more quick one. This is from a day ago. Maryland County executives ban police station from displaying divisive thin blue line flag. This is Germantown, Maryland. A county executive in Maryland has banned a police station from displaying a wooden thin blue line flag that was a gift from a local resident. Quote, the flag provides a symbol of support to some, but it is a symbol of dismissiveness to others, Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich said in a note. Quote, because it is divisive, the flag will not be posted at the 5th District, nor any public space within the police department. The flag, a gift to the 5th District officers from Montgomery County woodworker James Shelton, is labeled by some as, quote, Blue Lives Matter flag in response to the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah, blue lives don't matter at all.
No.
That's funny. That is funny. They're like, no, you know. And I guarantee you they're all upset and offended by it. And you know what? That woodworker is a piece of Tory scum.
They're absolutely upset about it. And they actually, let's see, acting police chief Marcus Jones, quote, under my administration, we are committed to improving police relations with the community and will immediately address any actions that stands against our mission.
So you guys having a thing that's masturbatory for yourselves on your wall is somehow improving relations with the community?
And let's not forget that it's against federal law.
Yeah, because it's a violation.
Flag code.
They're state employees, which means they are under the flag code, and they're violating the flag code. Because that's the other thing, too, is you hear a lot of people like, flag code, yeah, which only applies to the military and state employees. It doesn't apply to the average citizen because there's this little thing called the First Amendment that you may have heard of.
Pretty sure, but no.
Oh, you're like frozen. Is that just me, or? Oh, there you go. You're back.
Okay. That was weird because I could hear you, but whatever. Whatevs. It is what it is. I said something like, you said First Amendment, and I said something like, I'm pretty sure that if you could burn it, you could put a rainbow on it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And the First Amendment applies to the flag, and I don't give a fuck what anybody has to say about it. And if you are a flag humper, then you are probably not going to enjoy this podcast much.
But please feel free to comment on our Facebook page. That is the Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. and tell us what you think. I dare you.
Comment on the page. Do not send me a Facebook message to whine at me because I made fun of patriotism and then want me to call you to discuss it, because no. That is not happening. I'm not calling you to discuss that. That was.
God!
Did I tell you that happened? That
No.
did happen.
I want to hear the story now.
So an episode, 3 episodes ago, I think it was 3 episodes ago, when we were saying something about, but just wear, take your hat off when you stand for that super special song, and pledge your undying allegiance to Magic Skycloth. And like, we were laughing about that. And some random dude sent me a message whining at me because of my opinion of patriotism. And apparently is, I guess, a friend of Kevin's, according to him, and sends me this message. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'll respond to you, but this is a little weird. Like, why don't you just message the page? Like, why are you messaging me? That's odd. And then, like, sent me his phone number. And is like, don't worry, I won't record it. Like, just like, no, I'm not gonna call you.
Don't worry. Yeah, don't worry, I won't record it. In my immediate thought, he's fucking recording it.
He's and even if he's recording it, like, I don't care. I honestly don't care. Record away, man. Record that, because I stand by my convictions all freaking day. But no, I am not taking time out of the middle of my day during a work day to call you to discuss the fact that you're a flag humper and don't like my anarchist podcast.
Never mind what you did for the Stars and Stripes, supposedly, before you became an anarchist.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna.
Never mind the fact that you literally died 3 times for
none of that. But the fact that I said, hey, I made fun of the national anthem. Well, now listen, motherfucker. Like, are you kidding me? Dude, suck my fucking dick. All right.
I'll even paint a blue line on it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding me? Come on. It was absolutely ridiculous, and it seriously happened. It's the only time that's happened, but it was definitely one of the weirdest reactions. And I do get, when I laughed and I tell people, like, I know that we're getting successful because we start getting hate mail.
Yes.
When we start getting hate mail, I'm like, yes, we're making a difference. Like, clearly we're having enough of an impact that people who otherwise wouldn't be exposed to this message are now getting exposed to this message, and it's upsetting them, which is good. That's a good thing. Yes. Your tears are delicious, Status.
Yes.
Your pain, we exist on that. That is our sustenance. So continue.
Yep. So, give us an hour, we'll burn your echo chamber to the fucking ground.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
I don't think I really have any other stuff that I wanted to talk about. I think everything I wanted to talk about we've either already covered on the previous show, or I covered it on my show.
On Anarchist Weapons Wednesday?
Yep. Anarchist Weapons Wednesday. It's supposed to be every other Wednesday. It wasn't this most recent week because I was sick and it was my birthday and I was really hungover after my birthday. So I was not going to try and sit here sweating basically pure whiskey trying to do the show.
Wow.
I know I did it to myself, but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
yeah. So I didn't do it the last week, but
Anarchist Weapons still there?
Oh, there you go.
Lost me for a second. That was scary. Anarchist Weapons Wednesday on our podcatchers is doing almost as well as the Roundtable.
Sweet.
So,
nice.
Yeah, go find him and go find Andrew's YouTube page. It is linked in the comments below. Go buy Derica's book. It is in the comments below. The links to Nick's stuff is also in the description. And yeah, I don't have anything else.
And if you know who runs antistate.net that makes that stuff, would you seriously get them to get a hold of me or reply to my message? Because I really want to talk a sponsorship deal already.
Yes. Oh, special shout out, just random fact. Biting the Bullet podcast, run by 3 ex-Marines, anarchists, absolutely fantastic. It is off the cuff. It is completely raw like we are. And just random, disorganized. It is fucking beautiful. And it is a very, very good time to listen to. So, And it's a drinking game. So every time Jared says, I don't give a fuck, you take a fucking shot. And if you live through the podcast, you win.
I can probably do that. I accept that challenge.
You'll have to go give him a shout out. That is Biting the Bullet podcast. They're also on Twitter and Instagram and all the podcatchers. So yeah, on that note, this has been episode 75, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for the next one. Peace.